All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. This is our February Assessment and Accountability Monthly Call. The PowerPoint presentation is being checked on the posting of it in our assessment library, so please be patient as our communications team works on getting that up for you all. This month is going to be pretty quick. A lot of this information is not new, and a lot of it is just reminders about our ELPT and LEAP Connect testing window, and then some things to get you started as you prepare for LEAP 2025 grades 3 to 8 testing. So we'll go ahead and jump into our month-by-month checklist. So the slides on the month-by-month checklist items are for February and March. The entire checklist is posted in the assessment library. Some key tasks for February include administering interim assessments and using those reports in data discussions, supporting the continuous evaluation of accessibility and accommodations effectiveness, and if IEPs, IAPs, EL accommodation checklists, or PNPs need to be revised, that should take place as well. March 1st is the deadline for the grades 3 to 8 testing to be in place, and March 15th is for high school testing to have those accommodation forms in place. Also, the deadline for submitting to College Board the complete disability documentation for students with disabilities that are taking the exam this school year. There's also going to be the audit of the Spring High School LEAP 2025 testers, which is TSDL, and the deadline to submit the class schedule corrections for high school LEAP 2025 testers. The ELPT and LEAP Connect Law 1 testing windows are open, and those will conclude in March. Also, ordering of additional accommodated materials for work keys takes place this month as well. For March, a few quick things. The graduation cohort data will be finalized during this month. Exit code review will also be completed. We also want to make sure that our districts are supporting their school test coordinators with the delivery of test security, preparation, and administration training for our spring assessment. The test setup procedures for grades 3 to 8 LEAP 2025 will open. Accommodations plans can still be finalized, and then we have our ACT testing that will be in March as well. Moving on to accountability, all students that take LEAP Connect and Law 1 instead of the regular assessment must meet participation criteria outlined in Bulletin 1530. Additionally, school systems were required to add the assessment results that determine the student's eligibility based on a significant cognitive impairment or adaptive behavior. The LDOE will conduct audits of IEPs in any school system that exceeds the 1% cap, and then we also may audit other IEPs randomly. Scores from students who are found to be ineligible will be converted to the lowest scale score and assigned 0 points in the school performance score. In 2019-2020, the scores from the ELPT will be included in the school performance score. This school year, growth results and accountability outcomes will be reported but not included in SPS. It's very important that all English learners participate in the ELPT, as the 2019 and 2020 test scores will be used to determine growth in 2020. The growth component will be weighted equal to the number of test units that are included for the student in the assessment index. So for example, if you have a 5th grade student, they're taking ELA, math, science, and social studies, that would generate 4 units. A high school student taking geometry, biology, and English 2 would generate 3 units. As a reminder, since last year, students took a science field test. This year, the higher of the 2016-2017 or the 2018-2019 Science Assessment Index will be used as the science component of the overall assessment index. The Science Index will be weighted by the 2018-2019 Social Studies Assessment Index tested population in order to limit impact of population changes from previous years. The department is seeking Louisiana educators with expertise in visual and performing arts, world languages, and fitness and health education to provide feedback on draft interests and opportunities rubrics and scoring guides developed in partnership with local and national organizations with expertise in these areas. So we have some review committees. We are looking for participants who will read and provide feedback on those rubrics this spring. They'll also provide written feedback through 1 to 2 virtual webinar meetings. If you have teachers or staff or district level employees that would be interested, please follow the instructions provided here on the slide. Pass this information to others in your school system who you think will be interested. Later this school year, we will be inviting school systems and schools to participate in a pilot test of these rubric tools. And in case you missed it, our Assistant Superintendent Jessica Baguian published a piece at the Fordham Institute's blog about Louisiana's leadership in this space. So you can check that out through the link. For our birth to grade 3 assessments, we have a couple of reminders. Also, those of you who are on the call that are piloting the second grade checkup, this would be the section in which we have some information on our monthly calls. And then if you have questions, feel free to type those in as well, or you can email assessment@la.gov. So our birth to pre-K sites should have their gold checkpoint data finalized by the end of the month, February 28th. If needed, there is support guidance that's linked here to help you finish those data collections. As you know, we are piloting 4 tools this year for K-2 accountability. We had a survey that was sent to all participating teachers and district contacts of anyone participating in any of the 4 pilots. The survey indicated that 97% of the people that responded agree or strongly agree with Louisiana's vision for early learning. However, just 71% said that students read grade level text daily, and fewer than 40% reported students writing to express understanding daily. We're going to survey at the end of the year to the same participants to collect more feedback on instruction throughout the school year, but also on the pilot tools themselves. We will have focus groups and site visits during the spring semester in all 4 of our pilots. And the collection of that data and feedback will help us drive decisions for the future regarding the 4 pilots. So the 4 K-2 accountability pilots that are being administered across the state are located here. This has specific information regarding each pilot. Again, if you have any questions about any of the pilots, you should contact assessment@la.gov. So just to recap, the 4 pilots are class, best practices implementation rubric, student writing samples, and our second grade checkup. So for class, this is a tool that is used for our pre-K teachers, but we are piloting this at the kindergarten level in 286 classrooms. And this will measure teacher-student interactions in those classrooms. Our best practices implementation rubric is a rubric used from outside observers to indicate the impact of the student learning experiences in those classrooms. And that is for our first and second grade classes that we were piloting, so over 300 in each grade. And then for student writing, we have about 400 classrooms that are doing this, which is where students will have a writing prompt and write their written response to be collected and analyzed as well. And that's actually happening during a window in March in which districts and schools will administer the writing prompts. And then our second grade checkup, we have over 400 classrooms that are piloting this, and that is in May. This is going to assess ELA and math mastery of skills. This will be an online assessment it's a checkup. So it's very short and will be able to give us data about where our second graders are at the end of the school year. Training and other important information regarding the second grade checkup will be released during a webinar. We will have training in the upcoming months that includes information about key dates, how to administer the assessment, and any sort of preparation tasks that need to be done at the district or school level. So please stay tuned for more information. The window is May 6th through 17th, and districts and schools will have the flexibility to schedule the checkup during that window, just like we do for our other assessments. So for technology readiness, one thing that our technology directors have already heard and that we're letting you all know through this monthly call is that we have released the assessment technology specifications for next school year, 2019-2020. They are located in the assessment library. Any device that you're using for testing this year can continue to be used for next school year. Beginning next school year, all of our DRC assessments will transition to a new testing site manager. So currently, your tech coordinators have your devices connected to a TSM. They are going to transition them into an upgraded version of that TSM. And so they have received information at LeCue and through their monthly technology director calls, and they'll continue to receive information for the rest of the school year. We will have a user guide specifically to help your technology staff at the district level transition and definitely be available to assist in any way we can. This should be a very seamless process, and we are very excited about upgrading the testing site manager. For test security, these slides I'm going to go through pretty quickly because you all probably have these memorized, but I wanted to provide you the opportunity to have these included in this month's call in the event you're redelivering for staff. So a couple things. One is after the window, we will be auditing the grade level tests that students take versus the grade level they are enrolled in SIS. So students that take the inappropriate grade level assessment will have their test voided for accountability. So please make sure that your systems are up to date and ensure that students are taking the correct grade level or grade span assessment. All voids during the ELPT or Leap Connect Law 1 window should be sent to assessment at la.gov at the conclusion of each testing week. However, we do encourage you to send them the day of or the day after so that we can help you make decisions and handle things faster. But definitely by the end of the week, any voids should be submitted to assessment at la.gov. The directions on how to submit voids for ELPT and then for Leap Connect are located here using the links. All right, so the next few slides are directly from our test security training that's available in the assessment library, and they are the same as those presented to you this whole school year. So they're provided in this call as a review for spring assessment, so I'm going to quickly run through them. But again, you could just extract these slides to do your test security training with your staff. So listed here are common violations of test security. Definitely examine Bulletin 118 for a complete list of those violations. Test administrators should submit all testing irregularities to their STC in writing. The STC should examine and pass relevant irregularities to you all, the district test coordinator, and then you all should review those and pass relevant ones to us at assessment at la.gov. Test administrators should only have access to test materials the day of testing. Access to secure testing rooms should be limited to the school test coordinator and a very small group of trained staff. Test materials must be distributed and collected each day of testing. So definitely make sure that each school test coordinator has very clear and effective procedures on how to handle this at the school level. All test administrators, including small group or individual testing rooms, are required to actively monitor testing. Some practices to ensure actively monitoring students are located on this slide. While actively monitoring, test administrators should not engage in any activity that involves examining secure materials unless they are providing accommodations. Practices to prevent plagiarism are located on this slide, including limiting or prohibiting the use of electronics within the testing environment. Again, active monitoring will be a great proactive step in a room of students testing to prevent plagiarism. Test administrators should also receive a list every day of the accommodations that they are to administer to each student. And that test administrator should receive instructions on how to administer those accommodations and when to administer them to those students. In the event you need to complete an investigation, that is the district test coordinator's responsibility. So any severe irregularity, including voiding a student's test score, would need to have an investigation done. And the investigation report template is listed, or is linked on the screen. If you are interested in purchasing services through our contract with Cavion, they provide monitoring, investigation, and training services, and all the information about pricing and more details about what they provide are linked here. We have a section in the assessment library called Test Security. All of our resources, including PowerPoint, forms to be filled out, monitoring forms, any other resources are located in that section. So please make sure you check those out. We also want to remind you that for the grades 3 to 8 LEAP 2025 tests, your schedules for your district should be emailed to assessment@la.gov by March 15th. This should be one email with all of your school schedules in one place. So it could be a district-wide schedule that you follow, or you may have schools do their own schedule and should be attached in one email. For spring high school EOC LEAP 2025, those schedules are due to assessment@la.gov by April 8th. All right, let me check to see if we have any questions. All right, we will continue. So the next slides are specific to our grades 3 to 8 assessment preparation for LEAP 2025. The next two slides are highlighting the key dates that are also found in the test coordinator manual. These manuals were posted in January, and the next upcoming date is March 1st, when you will receive manuals in your district printed for grades 3 to 8. Braille will arrive in a separate shipment before testing starts. So when you receive your initial materials, you will receive initial materials as far as consumable test booklets, shipping labels, and things like that. You will receive a separate box with your Braille materials in it. Also, as a reminder, the test setup process that was changed last year is the same process we have this year based on your feedback. So we are pulling from the February data of students rather than October to give you a more accurate count of students, but also accurate placement of students within test setup. We have two test manuals. We have a test coordinator manual and a test administrator manual for our paper-based and our computer-based tests. So there are 4 total. Again, those are in eDirect, and you can download those, but you're also going to receive hard copies of them on the March 1st shipment. The next slide highlights some of the testing alerts, test security actions, test setup items, scheduling tips, and materials reminders that are in those manuals. I also want to remind you before we go through this, as we approach spring assessments, there's going to be more emails and phone calls that you all are going to be sending to us. So I want to remind you that there should not be any PII mentioned in an email or said on a phone. So just to kind of get your mindset before you start testing, you're going to be emailing a bunch of things, asking a lot of questions. Please make sure that you're following your district protocols as far as data privacy and security, and that you are not sending emails with student information, and only the LaCID should be used if you're referencing a particular student. So for testing alerts, a couple things. Based on the test delivery, either online or paper, students are identified for testing in different ways. So as I mentioned a minute ago, for our computer-based tests, DRC will upload pre-identified students who are identified in SIS as of the February 1 count. And then for our paper-based tests, students who are identified in SIS as of October 1 are considered pre-identified. If you need to transfer more than one student, you as the district test coordinator can email the student transfer form to DRC customer support, and they'll get that taken care of right away. For accommodations, there are a few things to highlight. The first one is please stress to your school test coordinators that student accommodations must be verified and added before putting students into a test session. The second thing is that STCs will need to manually select accommodations or accessibility features in eDirect for students that have a personal needs profile or an English learner accommodation checklist. The third thing is for paper-based testing, there are test read aloud labels that need to be placed on the test booklet that is used by the teacher to administer the read aloud accommodation. So if you have a teacher administering human read aloud, they will use a student book, and they need to place the test read aloud label on it so that we know that was not used by a student, it was used to administer test read aloud by a teacher. And that label will go on the front cover. With the added verification of student accommodations in October that each school system completed, your material should be closer to the needed amount than in previous years. So your accommodated versions are included in the initial material shipment, but they are also available to order as additional materials for students with any read aloud or transferred answers accommodations. This will be kitted with Braille, CAS, and large print for transferring answers. So if you have students with the accommodation of Braille, CAS, or large print, another consumable booklet will be kitted with it so that those answers can be transferred into the paper-based test for grades 3 and 4. All schools selected to participate in the field test have been notified by me. I sent an email last week to the superintendent and to you all, letting you know which schools and grades were selected for the field test. Those schools and grades will automatically be assigned a fourth session within eDirect. There is a separate section in the TAM for teachers to use for the directions for that extra session. If you have a school or a grade that was not selected, they will only take the 3 sessions of the test. The teacher will only use the part of the manual that's specific to those sections. So they can just ignore the field test session directions in the manual. Void notification forms and void verification forms must be submitted to LDOE with any documentation by May 8th. Please remind your school test coordinators to ensure that all post-administration procedures are followed and tests are submitted to DRC within the designated time frames per the key dates. DRC will charge $100 to research any missing or unsubmitted tests, and if the test is found, an additional $100 to score it. So this will result in a delayed score memo for that student. Scratch paper must be provided to all students, and any scratch paper used must be securely destroyed. Accountability coding will take place at the end of the window. Students that are identified as non-public or tuition donation credit will receive payment, will require payment. The cost is $35 per content area. The participation order form and the FAQ are linked here. So information regarding those groups of students, but also if you have home study students would be in the FAQ as well. If you do have home study students that are testing in your district, those students will be placed under the 998 site code. And test administrators, as you know, should be trained in the importance of active monitoring and how to actively monitor. All staff involved in testing must be trained in test security prior to assessment day. Please ensure that monitoring plans are in place by district and school personnel. If your district has a school needing to test in an alternate environment, you all will submit a permission form to assessment@la.gov at least 30 days prior to the testing date. Districts are responsible for investigating testing irregularities. The investigation template is linked here and available in the assessment library and should be used when completing an investigation that is submitted to LDOE. There are a few reminders about test security procedures that are mentioned here. So only a person trained in test security can supervise test materials. A test administrator cannot be this person. So in addition to the personnel that are involved with testing, principals must also sign that pre and post oath for your school test coordinators and for you all to keep on file. Students' tests that are voided in the event that there is cheating will also need to have the void notification sent by May 8th to assessment@la.gov. Only the district test coordinator should have the permission to unlock and invalidate test tickets. So every time you all take one of these actions, a testing irregularity form must be sent to assessment@la.gov, and the directions on how to do this are located in the manual. The 2019 LEAP 2025 administration will be active in eDirect on March 18th. District and school level users should begin the test setup process to ensure the tasks that are listed here are complete. Directions on creating and editing test sessions are located here. All schools selected to participate in the field test, again, will automatically have the 4th session assigned to them in eDirect. And as noted in the test session layout, when creating test sessions using the test session upload, schools that have the field test will indicate, will add an asterisk to the end of the social studies assessment values. And this information is also in the manual. Test coordinators can use the multiple test session upload to upload all sessions at one time. The directions for this are located on the slide and in the eDirect user guide. A few notes about test schedules. So all of our tests for LEAP 2025 grades 3 to 8 are timed. Each session must be administered and completed on the day it is scheduled. For paper-based testing, you will have 2 additional days to use for makeup testing, and all makeup test sessions can be completed through those designated makeup days. For computer-based testing, makeup testing is done within the testing window. There are no additional days outside of the window for makeup. So for computer-based testing, those occur within the window. The online scheduling guidance, which is available in the assessment library, can help you all at the district level or at the school level create schedules for your online testing window. Again, those testing schedules are submitted to assessment@la.gov. So for grades 3 to 8, those are submitted by March 15th. And then for high school is April 8th. The grades 3 to 4 paper-based schedule and times are located here. And then our 3 to 8 computer-based testing schedule and time are located on here as well. Highlights related to test materials are that the Spanish large print, which is a paper-based test material, will be provided as an additional materials request. So if you have a student who needs Spanish math and a large print version of it, that will need to be ordered as an additional material. Each shipment of materials for schools includes overage, and you all at the district level will receive district overage materials. Those should be inventoried and stored in a locked, secure storage area. UPS is pre-scheduled to arrive at your office on the pickup days, so there's no need for you all to contact UPS. The colors for the return labels and the pre-identified labels are listed below, and they are also located in the manual. These are some reminders for your technology coordinator at the district level and their team, so please ensure that they're aware of the responsibilities here. The district assessment team and the district technology team should have a strong communication and support plan in place for before and after testing. A few more things for our home study and non-public school students. Students that are participating in the tuition donation credit program are going to be invoiced at the sponsor or STO organization. Non-scholarship students will be invoiced to the school system. If there is more than one school tuition donation, then each school tuition organization needs a separate form. So if you were at a non-public school and you have kids from 2 different STOs, you will need a form for the first STO and a form for the second STO because invoices will be sent to them. Invoices will be sent by email, and payment will be due to DRC within 10 days of the invoice being received. The FAQ is linked here, but also the participation form for non-public school students. So this must be completed and submitted to DRC no later than April 5th. So this is for your kids who are in a scholarship program at a non-public site or a tuition donation credit program. The technical assistance protocol should be followed, and a one-pager of this protocol is linked here on the slide. I'm going to stop for just a second to see questions that have come in. So we have a question about the field test. So last week, the superintendent and you as the DTC would have received an email from me indicating which schools and then which grade levels at each site are participating in the field test. Okay, for accommodated materials for grades 3 and 4. So let me clarify. You will receive accommodated test booklets just for grades 3 and 4. So 3 and up is online, but if you are doing 3 and 4 on paper, you will receive those paper materials. Accommodated books are used for kids who have transferred answers and read aloud. It will clearly say accommodated book on the front cover so that the TA, the SBC, will make sure that the right classrooms get the right books, but they have to have the accommodated version of the form. So those numbers that are pulled came from a couple places. 1, we looked at your numbers from last year. 2, you all submitted these numbers in October during the enrollment window in eDirect. So you all went in for every school, for every grade, every type of accommodation, and you sent in those numbers for us. The third place we looked was in the February poll, and we will provide you with the number that is the most. So if you need to order more additional materials for those students, you can definitely still do that. That process is the same. The one thing I wanted to flag is that this year, those initial shipments should be so much closer to what you need because of the extra steps that you all took in October to ensure that the count was going to be closer to what you all needed. High school spring testing will also be uploaded from February 1. For science accountability for this school year, the assessment index will come from the higher of the 2 years, so either 2016-17 or this year, 2018-19. So because we had a field test, that is why that's in place, but it will be used on the calculator that we use now. We have a question about the field test. So in the letter that I sent you and your superintendent, there is a chart that lists the schools that have been selected and the grade level that was selected at that site. We worked very hard to make sure that only one grade level was at the sites that were selected so that there wasn't much of a burden on you all. So again, this was part of our plans to reduce testing. And so we are just sampling kids to do the field test instead of requiring everyone to do it. And then we are doing at most one grade level at a school. So every student that's in that grade level will take that field test. So if Broadmoor Middle is selected and in the chart it says grade 8, only grade 8 students will complete that field test session. We have a question for schools that want to do grades 3 and 4 online. If you would like to switch to online, we are happy to make that happen for you. So just email assessment and we can get that worked out. Okay, so we have an update on the PowerPoint. It is now in the assessment library. So please look under webinars, and it is posted there now. It was actually posted in a different library, so I apologize. We have a question about the schedules that are submitted to assessment at la.gov. Whatever format you use at the district level is fine with us. We just need to make sure that we have the correct testing schedule for every site in your school system. Does the field test mean an additional session? Yes. So for grades 5 to 8, instead of 3 sessions for social studies, they will have a 4th one. It will be in eDirect for the STC to create the test session, and there is a separate section in the test administrator manual with the directions for the TA to read aloud during that section. All right. Let's go to some reminders we have for LEAP 2025 in general. So practice test information is located here on the slide with a link to the library. Practice tests are designed to use as instructional tools, and so resources for each of those practice tests are located in the practice test library. All teacher access and student versions for all practice tests are available. And then the next 2 slides show the available resources that we have for each content area. This one is for grades 3 to 8, and then this slide is for high school. So ELA math and social studies assessments resources include assessment guides, practice tests, rubrics, equation builder guides, sample items, and they are all in the assessment guidance library and the practice test library. ACT and work keys. So we have some important dates that are upcoming. They are listed here on the slide. All students testing ACT must be entered into PA Next to receive an ACT student code. That code links their listed so that ACT can match scores to students, schools, and districts. Second thing to remind you is that 12th grade students who are retesting will already have an ACT student code, and that can be located on a prior student report. Those reports should be at the high schools in the students' team folders. The third thing is that all testing coordinators and ACT test administrators should register for the test administration training tomorrow at 1. The link is located on the slide. When your testing materials arrive, please make sure to use the packing slips and verify that everything listed on the packing slip is in each box. If not, contact the ACT help desk and that information is located on the next slide, I believe. Also make a note that on February 18th, ACT will be closed for President's Day. So if you have customer service needs, feel free to contact us, or just expect that if you contact ACT on the day, they'll get back with you the next day. If schools made ACT-approved accommodation requests in TAA during the last week of the window, the PIN numbers and rollover to PA Next may not be completed in time for those accommodated materials to be included with the initial shipment of accommodated materials. They'll be shipped a little later due to the time it takes for ACT to process those orders. All of the orders, once they're shipped, can be tracked in PA Next. LDOE gave ACT a list of students that must take ACT. The students on that list were assigned to a roster at some location in Louisiana. So the enroll, unenroll function is only used to move students from roster to roster. When a student is requested to be unenrolled, ACT will remove the student from your roster, and that student is in a holding place until another school requests to enroll that student. ACT will then move the student to the new roster. If a student takes Law 1, the student took Law 1 or LEAP Connect and has scores in ELA and math, use the appropriate code in PA Next to indicate why the student did not take the ACT. You do not need to delete that student from the roster. ACT will send out a notification when the function is open in PA Next. And then here are resources for district and school assessment teams, for ACT and WorkKeys, along with that customer service information I mentioned a second ago. College Board endorsed AP Summer Institutes that are 5-day teacher trainings hosted by secondary and post-secondary institutions across the country. The average cost for an AP Summer Institute is $600, and the College Board annually offers $1,000 scholarships to teachers that currently serve underrepresented populations. These scholarships are designated to cover the cost of tuition and travel expenses. The summer of 2019 is an especially important summer due to the anticipated updates to the world history and AP Studio Art and the significant changes to the program for next school year. So if you have teachers that would be interested, the application can be found using the link on the slide. The LEAP Connect testing window is open and it will close on March 15th. The additional materials window is open and open until March 1st. So these two slides are just reviewing the key dates that we've used in previous monthly calls, but also in the LEAP Connect and Law 1 manuals. As a reminder, here's the chart that summarizes the accommodations needed on an IEP for LEAP Connect versus the built-in supports that are available to every student taking the test. The next few slides highlight reminders for the LEAP Connect and Law 1 assessments. These are the same slides we've had over the past few months. So a few things, DTCs and other key personnel, all the trainings you've received this year on administration, content, and preparation are still available in our libraries. The LEAP Connect assessment guide and the manuals are also still available. So please make sure that your schools are using all the resources that are provided and they have everything that they need. The secure materials for LEAP Connect will be returned with the Law 1 secure materials. So they will be sent in all at once. Because all of the LEAP Connect materials are non-scorable, because the students' responses go into the online system, there's no set order in which materials should be packaged. So just throw them all in there together. UPS is pre-scheduled to arrive at the school systems office on March 18th. You do not need to call UPS. The materials listed here are the materials that need to be returned. The other materials need to be securely destroyed after testing, including any duplications. The directions for how to package those materials for return are in the TCM. The Law 1 science assessment, as you know, is just for grades 4, 8, and 11. A reminder that students should have the opportunity to take all tasks. However, if after attempting at least 5 tasks within a content area, if the student's unresponsive on all of those items, then the test administrator can stop testing. The technical assistance protocol is presented here. So technical issues, including maybe something with Insight or something not loading in the system, please reach out to DRC so they can help you fix that as soon as possible. For ELPT, again, here are reminders of the key dates for this test. Again, the window is open and will end on the 15th, just like our LEAP Connect and Law 1 test. The trainings for test coordinators and test administrators are in the assessment library. All of the manuals are posted in the ELPT portal. You've already received materials at your school system. If you need more KN1 materials, please go ahead and order those in the additional materials section. All materials will be returned on March 22nd. The EL accommodations plan cannot be used to take the ELPT. Details on allowable accommodations for students taking ELPT that have an IEP or a 504 can be found in the Accessibility and Accommodations Manual in the ELPT portal. Non-participation codes are used to identify reasons why students did not take or complete all parts of the ELPT. STCs will need to enter a code for each domain for all students that are in TIDE that did not test. The codes can be entered into TIDE at the end of the testing window. For more information about non-participation codes, you can use the TIDE user guide on page 88. There are directions on how to do this. DTCs will need to schedule a pickup time with FedEx for ELPT. The directions for packaging materials are in the boxes you received. All boxes with scorable items must have a green scorable label. All boxes with non-scorable items must have red labels. So green is good, red is bad. Green means these are the ones that you need to score. If you have questions, ask the ELPT help desk, especially if you need other packaging materials. And the technical assistance protocol for ELPT is located here. For LEAP 360, this is just a reminder about the report schedule for interim phase 2. So the test session and school summary reports will begin to post on the 25th. Also, if you're looking for ways to assess your K-2 students, the K-2 formative tasks are available in eDirect. They're student-centered, engaging tasks for ELA and math that are aligned with the K-2 standards. And as you are planning for next school year, remember that LEAP 360 will be at no cost next year. The MOU will be due June 28th, and that should be sent via email to assessment@la.gov. We have a couple reminders about data submissions. So again, this section was added this year based on your feedback. You wanted to be more in the loop about what your data team at the district level is doing that impacts you all as an assessment team. And so we've added slides each month to update you all on what they're doing to make sure your work happens and is ran successfully. So forward this to your data coordinator and data manager, talk with them about it. You all should be in the loop on what they're doing to make sure everything is done correctly. So school systems are ensuring that student enrollment is up to date in eScholar, and they will be responding to any audit requests to ensure that each student is being reported with the correct ID. By this Friday, school systems are uploading student information for the February 1 MFP collection. So big deal, big date. Student information system data includes enrollment, 504 information, and other testing accommodations. SIR includes all of the information as well. So they're doing a lot of work right now that's going to impact you all at testing time. The data from the February 1 collection will be used to pre-code labels for ACT as well. So a lot of the work that they are doing right now is going to set you all up for success. So please get in touch with them to see if they need anything and know how they're making progress on those tasks. The other thing is that class schedules with TSDL for first-time testers is due Friday. And so this is super important because this gets you your correct test sessions in eDirect come spring testing. Just a couple reminders, the assessment calendar for next school year was released a few weeks ago. It is in the assessment library. It is basically the same schedule as the past few years. So no big changes. So you can check that out. Make sure your school test coordinators have it as well. Use it for district planning. And then we have the school system planning calls and collaboration events for the rest of the school year here. We also have our information about the Teacher Leader Summit. So the early bird registration is still open for the June 26th through 28th event. If you have a new assessment or accountability contact, please make sure the contact form is completed and submitted to assessment@la.gov by your superintendent. Our assessments customer service page is linked here, and the remaining accountability and assessment monthly call dates are listed in this chart. And again, all of our support phone numbers and emails are listed here, and your next steps are listed on this last slide. So a recap of those, and then note that office hours will not be held on Mardi Gras, March 5th, so we will skip a week. I am going to pause for some questions. I have a question about the February 1 collection. So the February 1 collection impacts every testing from here to the end of the year. So ACT, grades 3 to 8, and high school. So they are submitting class schedules. They're making sure kids are correctly identified with listed, making sure student information, including accommodations, is accurate. So everything that you all work with all the time in testing is what they're submitting now. So all of the information sent to us will be used to send to the vendors and make sure that everything is set up in the system for you. We have a question about ELPT pickups. Those will be scheduled for you, by you. So Lead Connect and Law 1, already scheduled. It's coming to you on that date. Have everything ready, they'll pick it up. For ELPT, you need to schedule with FedEx the date you would like them to come receive it. All right, those are all of the questions that I see. Again, this is really in the assessment library now, so I appreciate your patience. If you have any questions or need any support, please contact us at assessment@la.gov, and we'll be happy to help. Have a great day.